I'm sorry. I can't afford this meal. The words were so quiet that most people in the restaurant never heard them. But Daniel Brooks did. He was sitting 3 tables away, halfway through a late dinner, when the young woman at the counter slowly pushed her plate back toward the cashier. Her face had turned red. Not from anger. From humiliation. She had a little girl beside her, maybe 6 years old, wearing a pink jacket that was too thin for the cold November evening. The child stared at the untouched chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans on the plate as if she were trying very hard not to cry. The woman opened her purse and counted the money again. A few coins. A crumpled $5 bill. Then nothing. I thought I had enough, she whispered. I'm really sorry. The cashier glanced at the line behind her. Ma'am, it's $18.40. I know. The woman swallowed. I can't. She took the little girl's hand. Come on, sweetheart. But, Mom, we'll eat at home. The little girl looked at the plate. Is there food at home? The question landed harder than a shout. Her mother's face collapsed for half a second before she forced a smile. Yes. Daniel knew that kind of smile. The one adults used when children were watching. The woman turned toward the door. That was when Daniel stood. He had no idea that one small decision would eventually change 3 lives, including his own. Wait. The woman stopped. Daniel walked toward them. She immediately looked defensive. If you're going to say something, please don't. Daniel stopped several feet away. I wasn't. Because I know how this looks. Her voice trembled. I'm not looking for charity. I believe you. That surprised her. Daniel glanced at the little girl. What's her name? The child answered before her mother could. Lily. Lily, Daniel smiled. That's a beautiful name. The girl looked down. Daniel turned toward the cashier. Could you add her meal to my check? The woman shook her head immediately. No. Daniel looked at her. It's already done. No, I can't let you. You're not letting me do anything. He pointed toward his table. I ordered way too much food anyway. My mother used to say restaurants give you enough mashed potatoes to feed a football team. The little girl almost smiled. Daniel caught it. See, he said. Your mom and I can argue about the mashed potatoes later. The woman stared at him. For a moment, she looked like she might cry. Instead, she whispered, "Thank you." Daniel nodded. "Please sit down." She hesitated. Then she and Lily returned to the table. Daniel went back to his own seat. He expected that to be the end of it. It wasn't. 10 minutes later, the woman approached him. I really want to thank you. Daniel looked up. Lily stood behind her, holding a fork. She said the chicken is good, the woman added. Daniel smiled. I'm glad. My name is Sarah. Daniel. Sarah tucked a strand of brown hair behind her ear. I'll pay you back. You don't have to. I will. You really don't. I said I will. There was something in her voice that told Daniel the money wasn't the point. Pride was. So he nodded. Okay. Sarah returned to her daughter. Daniel watched them for a moment before looking away. He had spent the past year learning that people rarely needed rescuing. Sometimes they just needed someone to give them enough dignity to stand back up. Daniel knew something about needing that. A year earlier, he had been laid off from a construction company after an accident left him unable to work for several months. His savings disappeared quickly. His apartment became too expensive. He had slept on his brother's couch while pretending everything was fine. A stranger had once paid for his groceries when his debit card declined. Daniel had never forgotten the feeling. Not the money. The feeling of someone saying, without words, you are not alone. After dinner, Daniel stepped outside. The November wind cut through his jacket. Daniel. He turned. Sarah stood outside with Lily. You dropped this. She held out his wallet. Daniel checked his pocket. He must have left it on the table. Thanks. Sarah smiled faintly. Then Lily tugged on her mother's sleeve. Mom. What? Can we ask him? Sarah looked embarrassed. Ask me what? Lily looked at Daniel. Do you know anybody who is hiring? Daniel's smile disappeared. Sarah closed her eyes. Lily. It's okay, Daniel said. The little girl continued. Mom used to work at a bakery. She makes really good cakes. But they closed. Sarah gave her daughter a look. Daniel looked at Sarah. You need work. I'm looking. What kind? Anything. Daniel thought about it. My friend owns a small cafe across town. They need someone mornings. Sarah immediately shook her head. I don't have a car. Bus. 2 buses. That's not impossible. It takes almost 2 hours. Daniel paused. What if they paid enough to make it worth it? Sarah looked at him. Daniel pulled out his phone. He called his friend Marcus. Hey, Marcus. You still looking for someone? Sarah watched silently. Daniel explained. Marcus asked a few questions. Daniel looked at Sarah. Can you start tomorrow? Sarah's mouth opened. Tomorrow. Daniel handed her the phone. Tell him yourself. She spoke with Marcus for several minutes. When she hung up, tears were running down her cheeks. I have an interview at 8. Daniel smiled. Good. Sarah wiped her face. Why are you doing this? Daniel shrugged. Because somebody once did it for me. Sarah stared at him. Who? Someone I never got to thank. The next morning, Sarah showed up at Marcus's cafe. She got the job. For the first few weeks, things improved. Not magically. She still took 2 buses. She still came home exhausted. She still worried about rent. But now there was a paycheck. There was hope. And Lily began eating dinner without asking whether there would be food tomorrow. Daniel occasionally stopped by the cafe. Sarah always tried to give him free coffee. He always refused. One afternoon, she finally cornered him. You bought me dinner. You don't owe me. You helped me get a job. You earned the job. So let me buy you coffee. Daniel laughed. Fine. She handed him a cup. Black. No sugar. Daniel stared at it. How did you know? You've been ordering it for 6 weeks. He smiled. Okay. You got me. Their friendship grew quietly. Then, one rainy Tuesday, Daniel received a call from Sarah. She was crying. Daniel. What happened? It's Lily. His heart tightened. What's wrong? They found something on her heart. The next hours became a blur. Tests. Doctors. Hospitals. Insurance forms. Fear. Sarah had insurance through the cafe. But there were still bills she couldn't imagine paying. Daniel sat beside her in the hospital waiting room. Sarah stared at the floor. I should have known. Known what? That something good would cost me. Daniel shook his head. That's not how life works. It feels like it. Lily needed surgery. The hospital estimated thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket expenses. Sarah broke down. I finally got us stable. Daniel sat beside her. You are stable. I can't afford this. The sentence was almost identical to the one she had spoken months earlier. Daniel looked at her. Sarah. She covered her face. I can't do this again. Daniel reached into his pocket. He pulled out his phone. What are you doing? Calling Marcus. Why? Because he knows people. Sarah grabbed his wrist. No. Daniel looked at her. I'm not asking you. I don't want another handout. This isn't charity. Then what is it? Daniel smiled sadly. Community. Within 2 days, Marcus organized a small fundraiser through the cafe. A customer donated $50. Another gave $100. A retired teacher brought $20. A delivery driver gave $200. Someone Sarah had never met donated $1,000. Then another person matched it. The goal was reached in less than 48 hours. Sarah stared at the total on her phone. I don't understand. Daniel sat beside her. You helped people without knowing it. I didn't. Yes, you did. How? Every morning, you opened that cafe and treated people like they mattered. You remembered names. You gave an extra pastry to the kid whose mother was struggling. You listened to the old man who came in every Tuesday because he was lonely. Sarah's eyes filled. Daniel continued. You thought nobody noticed. She whispered, I was just doing my job. Daniel smiled. Sometimes kindness looks exactly like that. Lily's surgery was successful. 3 days later, Sarah walked into her daughter's hospital room and found Lily sitting up in bed. Daniel was beside her, holding a coloring book. Lily looked at her mother. Mom. Sarah rushed to her. She hugged her daughter so tightly that Lily laughed. Then Sarah looked at Daniel. You did this? Daniel shook his head. No. She stared at him. He pointed around the room. They did. Sarah looked through the glass wall. Marcus was standing there with several cafe customers. The retired teacher. The delivery driver. People she barely knew. People who had decided that her daughter mattered. Sarah began to cry. Daniel stood. She hugged him. For a few seconds, neither spoke. Then Sarah whispered against his shoulder. I can't repay you. Daniel pulled back. You still don't get it. What? You're not supposed to. Sarah looked confused. Daniel smiled. Just promise me something. What? When you see somebody else standing at that counter someday, counting coins and pretending they aren't embarrassed. Sarah's eyes softened. Stop them. She nodded. I will. Months later, Lily was healthy. Sarah kept her job. And something else changed. Every Friday evening, Sarah and Lily volunteered at a community kitchen. They served meals to families who couldn't afford them. One night, a tired mother approached the counter. She counted her money. Then looked at her son. I'm sorry, she whispered. We don't have enough. Sarah froze. For a moment, she was back in that restaurant. Back with her crumpled $5 bill. Back with Lily staring at the food. Sarah stepped around the counter. She took the mother gently by the hand. Come sit down. The woman shook her head. I can't afford it. Sarah smiled. Neither could I once. She glanced at Lily, who was carrying plates across the room. But somebody stopped me. Sarah looked back at the woman. And now it's my turn. Across the room, Daniel watched. He smiled. Because he finally understood something he had been learning his entire life. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone isn't money. It's dignity. It's hope. It's one small act of kindness that tells a hurting person, you are still worth showing up for. And sometimes, all it takes is one person refusing to walk away.